Well, welcome to Bourbon Riders. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about 5 underrated bourbons and why I think you should look into them. Number 1 on our list is the Old Forester 100. Now, if you're familiar with the Whiskey Row series, I think you should look into the 100. This is a little milder version of what you've tasted in the Whiskey Row, like the 1910 or the 1920, in a very affordable bourbon. It's 100 proof. It's got a lot of the flavor characteristics of the Whiskey Row, and it's just such a good deal, and I think it's truly underrated. So let's take a little taste. Give a little swirl. Definitely got that Old Forester aroma going for it. Cheers. Sweet, baking spice up front, a little punch of flavor. 100 proof seems to be just right for this. I just don't think you can go wrong with the Old Forester 100. Number 2 on my list is also one of my favorite budget bourbons. That is the Noble Oak Double Oak Bourbon. Now, I've just done a first pour series on this, so look at the channel if you'd like to know more about this. I think this bourbon competes head-to-head with the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. It's got that double oak flavor, and with the sherry oak staves, it's got a nice finish to it. So let's give it a little pour here. You definitely smell that sherry coming out through the finish. Very nice. Cheers. Creamy, smooth, a little bit of baking spice, oaky. Everything I love about the Woodford Reserve Double Oak, I love about this bourbon. I really think this is a truly underrated bourbon, and number 2 on my list. Well, number 3 on my list is going to seem a little odd because you very rarely hear me talk about anything Jim Beam. I mean, I'm not a big Jim Beam fan. I'm not a big Evan Williams fan. I'm not a big Jack Daniel's fan, except for their Select series and their aged whiskeys. But this one, I'm a little bit of a fan over. Number 3 on my list, the Jim Beam Repeal Batch. Now, if you go back 4 years to any number of the big reviewers at the time, you may see this bottle on one of their shelves. A lot of them did reviews of it and had good things to say. Now, 4 years later, you're kind of wondering why a limited edition, and this is a limited edition, is still around. Because it's good. And at under $20, you just can't beat it. So let's give it a little pour. And like I said, I normally don't care for the normal Jim Beam products. The regular Jim Beam, the blackened, the double oaked, just haven't seen any of them or tasted any of them that really do anything for me. This one, on the other hand, it's got a unique profile. It does smell like Jim Beam, but past that, I think you'll like it. Cheers. It's not too proofy at only being 86, so it's a pretty mild bourbon. It's sweet. It has a kind of unique taste to it. Well, it's a Jim Beam product, right? But it seems to have the right balance of proof, sweetness, spice. It seems to be a good, economical sipping bourbon, if there was a category for that. That's why I included it, because I see this on shelves now, and like Total Wine selling it for $15.99. And we'll put the price on all these bottles as they appear on the show tonight. But I'll let you look more into it. But yeah, 4 years ago, everybody was talking about this. Now no one does. It's still just as good as it probably was 4 years ago. So number 3 on my underrated bourbons. Number 4 on my list is a bourbon you've probably seen on the shelf and going like, well, that looks like a cheap bourbon. I'm not going to pick that up. You know, the label's not very interesting, and it's a wheated bourbon on top of that. Why should I even try it? Because this Kentucky 10 wheated small batch bourbon is underrated, and it's good. So we had this in our wheat week, and blinded against other bourbons, it didn't do as well, but it was going against Weller's and Old Elks and Larceny and some flavor powerhouses out there. And yeah, it didn't last very long, but it doesn't mean that it's not a good wheated bourbon, because I'm telling you it is. And it's got a tight cork. So let's pour a little bit. Traditional wheated bourbon smell there. Now, we have done a first pour video on this, so I would go back to that for more information about the aroma, taste, and finish in it. But I'm telling you, this is an underrated bourbon. Cheers. It reminds me a lot of the Larceny with a little bit more spice and a little bit less sweet. So if you don't like your bourbons sweet and you're not a fan of like the Larceny, I think you should try the Kentucky 10. It's got a good flavor to it. I get the wheat, I get some fruit, I get some sweetness, and I get some spice. So it's different from the Larceny in a lot of ways. But I would compare it as being certainly as sippable as the Larceny. So, number 4 of my underrated bourbons. Well, number 5 on my list is probably my most favorite underrated bourbon. And that would be the Fiddler Unison. Now this is a medley of high wheat and high malt bourbons by the ASW distillery in the Atlanta area in my home state. And I just love the lightness and sippability of this bourbon. It reminds me a lot of the Colonel E.H. Taylor, and I've actually said so in previous videos, just how great of sipper this is and different from your average everyday molasses brown sugar bourbon. This has got a lot of light fruit flavors going on with it. So let's give it a little taste. I love the aroma in this. Cheers. I get some nice baking spice up front. That light to medium fruit goodness. It's sweet, but not too sweet. And it has a great finish. It's just an overall well-balanced bourbon. And I feel one of the most underrated bourbons out there. Now, its brothers, the Soloist, the Heartwood, they get all the fanfare. The Unison doesn't. I think this should be on your list of bourbons to try. These 5, I believe, are some of the 5 most underrated bourbons out there, available, affordable, and delicious. So, we hope you liked this video, and you'll subscribe for more videos like this. And please, always drink responsibly, never drink and drive, and we'll see you next time. I can't believe I'm so cheap. I'm not just pulling out more Glencairn glasses.